So this idea isn't actually mine. This comes from a video I watched a while back by Ali Abdaal, and it's an idea that stuck with me. So imagine you're a Roomba. You live your life day by day just chilling, moving along your path, sucking up dirt, and doing your thing. You're on autopilot. You don't even think about it when suddenly you bump into a chair. Alright, that's fine. So you back up, and then you try again. But then you bump against the chair again. Autopilot doesn't work anymore. You need to wake up. You need to become aware of yourself. You need to become sentient. I don't actually know how Roombas work, but I know I've personally been in very similar situations before. Situations where I'm just operating on autopilot, moving forward with my assumed path. But it feels like there's a crazy amount of friction. Almost like the universe itself is conspiring against me to make my situation more difficult, and I can't see it. It's in these moments exactly when I realize that I need to take a step back and ask myself the questions: what game am I playing, and what are the win conditions? Sometimes that feeling of friction and difficulty comes from not being fully aware of what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, and if what you're doing is really the best thing that you could be doing. Gaining that clarity often gives you the perspective needed in order to realize a whole bunch of different things, like how some of the problems that you have are actually of your own making and not really problems that you have to face, or how you might think that you're progressing when all you're doing is just running into the same chair over and over again. The thing is, you want to make sure that the game you're playing is still the same game as the one that you were playing before. And if not, then you want to think about how you should change your strategy accordingly. It's also good to give some thought as to whether or not that game is one that you want to continue playing. I'm no mindfulness expert, and this is something that I'm still working on. But every time that I've given myself an opportunity to step back and ask myself the question of what game I'm really playing, the positive effects on my life have been massive. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but I can't overstate how important the process of finding an answer to that question is, because it forces you to kind of wake up from the mindless drudgery of day-to-day life and really reflect on yourself and your current situation and how it relates to your visions for the future. And if you don't have one, to realize what that vision is too. It's too easy to spend your life on autopilot, following an assumed path. And sometimes that works, but not always. And even when it does, there's often a better way to do things. The thing is, I feel like you don't want to wait until something goes wrong in order for you to become aware of yourself and to gain this kind of clarity on your situation. In my experience, it's been really helpful with that kind of thing, but it's really game-changing when you're able to just kind of keep the idea in your mind and then use it every now and then to re-examine, even when things are going okay. Then what happens is that you start becoming proactive in your life. You give yourself clearly defined goals and you put thought into what you will be doing on a day-to-day basis in order to get there. You don't have to reach the point where you feel like you're dealing with this kind of insurmountable friction to everything as often. And even when you do, you stay calm because you have this confidence in your ability to be able to figure it all out. Alright, so now what are some steps that you can take in this direction to build up this kind of habit? So I'm coming to you from the future here because as I was editing this next part, I realized that I might be coming off as a bit patronizing, and that wasn't originally my intention. In my head, I guess I was just kind of like talking to my past self, who's a bit of a dumbass. But I figured that there might be some useful information in there, so I just kept it in anyway. First, do it right now. It's easy to watch this kind of video and think, yeah, that's nice, and then just move on to the next video without actually doing anything. But I don't think you should let yourself fall into that trap. Instead, take time right now, even if just a couple of minutes, to actually start this. A couple of minutes is all you need. Just open up your preferred note-taking app and just ask yourself the questions: what game am I playing? And what are the win conditions of that game? Once you've done that, there are kind of two different paths you can take. So you can use a sticky note, which is what I do, or you can use like an app that will send you reminders throughout the day. But the goal here is just to remind yourself at different times of this idea of asking yourself what the game you're playing is and reflecting on that. Basically, you just want to come across this idea of asking yourself what game you're playing randomly every now and then. It's like an occasional reminder to just take a step back and be aware of yourself and what it is that you're doing and how that falls in line with your future goals. Finally, then the last step is that whenever you come across that reminder, you want to see if you can answer it clearly. If you can quickly give yourself an answer to what game you're playing and what the conditions are and what strategy you're using and if that's an optimal strategy. And if you can answer that question in a way that satisfies you relatively easily, then that's fine. But if you ever feel like you struggle to answer that question, or like you don't quite know what it is that you're doing. The clarity isn't there anymore. That's when it's a sign that you should take a step back and maybe try to reflect a little more so that you can really find an understanding. All right, I hope that helps you. This is something that I've been working on a lot myself, and it's something that has been giving me a lot of clarity as time goes on and has been very helpful, especially recently.